Oh, well. This, actually, I'm going to record my, what I do, and then I can speed it up and you can get a copy of it afterwards, so that you get a little video demonstration as well. Okay. Just in case you forget. Hello, how are you? I think you're new to the class. How lovely to see you. What is your name? Elaine. Welcome, Elaine. Have you done, you look like you've done drawing before. Why? How did I know? Hello, how are you? And your name is? Hi, Mary. How lovely to see you. You're going to work right here with me. So make sure you've got these.
Okay, I got it.
So we are quite a full class today. And that's lovely. We love to have that. So that's Elaine and Mary. So what we're going to do today is today's exercise is we're going to draw some California poppies. Pretty soon you're going to see them everywhere. I know they're already in my friend's back garden. And I'm sure they're going to be all over the place. So, and then, we were going to do it next week, but Linda is not going to be here next week. So we're doing it this week for Linda.
Thank you very much.
And we had some lovely work from last week. I think I want to just share it because some of it's really lovely. So I'm going to come out and get your work and walk around and show your wares, so to speak. So those of you that did your homework, last week we were using tonal values and learning to do, we did a simple landscape and we learned to use tonal values to express distance. So we can have what we call depth perspective in our landscape. Linda, who's a complete beginning drawer, did a beautiful piece of work. This is the homework. We don't expect people to do it, but we give you some homework just in case. Very, very nice. This is wonderful. And this is from Man.
Yeah.
And equally, what a beautiful reflective. Isn't it beautiful? It's so reflective. So Man, very well done. This is Man. This has an I don't know, an Asian feel to it, like it's like an Asian landscape, isn't it? And this one.
I got the crayon.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I saw a crayon.
It's beautiful.
I couldn't find my pencil.
And
So
here we have
we're good.
Michelle.
Thank you.
So I just want to give a little clap to everybody. It's a big deal.
Yes.
It's a big deal to share your work because here's Deb's. Hello, how are you doing? Did you get what I sent you? You were the one that wanted to have instructions. I said you didn't get it? Okay, good. Well, stay off then. So this is Deb. She's one of my very dedicated students that I met through the library. And I just want to introduce you, many of you already know Peggy Williams. She is and Anita. They're my wonderful, beautiful assistants. Okay. And they'll be helping me today as needed. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use my overhead camera, but I will get up at certain times and come around and see how you're doing. But it's actually a better experience for you and for me if I use the overhead camera. It's very hard for me to do what we're going to do today up on it just doesn't work. So we're going to do that. So what we're going to learn about today is we're going to learn about how to use colored pencils. I know you've all used colored pencils. Hands up who's used colored pencils. We've all used colored pencils. But now we're actually learning to draw. There are techniques and there's a skill. So we're going to start out with some exercises to learn a few skills of how to use colored pencils effectively and effectively. So we'll start with those exercises and then we'll do some basic exercises with our poppies and do a final drawing. That's how it's going to go. Okay. Up here, there's an electric,
Pencil sharp.
how do you know that I kind of lose my words when I do? Just kind of lose the words mid-sentence, like, what was it? Okay. There's a pencil sharpening here. It behooves you to sharpen your pencils often, because you'll be using we're gonna show you how to actually use your pencil. So, I'm gonna show you now. So we don't need a lot of colors, and sadly, we actually came a little bit bereft of colors because at the last library, without realizing it, someone went in, dug in, and found our reds and yellows and took them away from us. So we've had to, I bought a bunch, Peggy bought a bunch. So if you bought your own, fabulous. You know, if you've got more than one orange, share and get it back before you leave. But we'll get more colors ordered, but we actually did not realize that we were missing. And so sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about colored pencils and their use. So colored pencils are very different from graphite pencils, which is what you draw with. Graphite, so here are all my graphite somewhere along here. Graphite and colored pencil really don't mix that well. And if you do your outlines or your basic drawing with a pencil, and then you cover it with colored pencil, you will not be able to erase the graphite. There's a reason for that. So graphite is graphite, and we use that for drawing. Colored pencils are actually mixed with wax. They're in a wax base. So that means that they're kind of, you know, they have a wax finish to them. And when we mix them together, we burnish them. We call it's like we mix them together. It's called burnishing. So the critical use of colored pencils is to be able to layer. So that's how you increase and use the beauty of colored pencils. Otherwise, they don't look that great and they're not that beautiful. You know, so I want you to, first of all, just take one of your colored pencils in your hand. First thing you're going to learn is how to best use your colored pencil. Well, obviously, you could use it to draw with. So you could just draw lines using the tip. And you could just lightly, what we call hatching. We learned that last time. You could hatch in some lines like this. Or better, you could turn it over. So you hold it in your hand. You learned that, some of you learned this last week, drumstick position. So that you're using the edge. And this way, you're able to put the pencil down in a much more efficient way. Do you see? And it's darker. So I want you to use both of those techniques and see how they change. So first of all, using it at the end of the pencil, turning it over, and using the side of the pencil. If you put your finger right at the end when you use it on the side like this, you can get it quite dark, see? So look at all the different things you could do with a single pencil. You could draw lines. You can shade lightly, just a light layer of color. Putting your finger up towards the end so that you're really getting a lot of pressure, getting a dark and, you know, what we call very saturated color. And I don't care what color you're using, it'll work. So what we're going to do next is we're going to mix two colors together. So if you've got a yellow or a pale color of any kind, you always start when you're layering
and the same could be said for paint, with the light color first. Here's why. The pigments in light color are much weaker than the pigments in a red or a blue. So if you put your red down first, you'll take a lot of yellow to make it orange. But if you put your yellow down first, it'll just take a little touch of red to make it orange. So let's test that. So on the side, if you can put down a nice solid block of yellow or a pale color of some sort. And you can press pretty hard and make that yellow as saturated as possible. Saturated means that your pigment, there's a lot of pigment that you've used. Desaturated is when you don't press that hard, so you're seeing a lot of white paper through it. It's desaturated, it's like tint. So this is a full saturation. Going lightly is a light saturation, and that's where you get all your lovely tinted colors for spring, all your light colors. And you just achieve them by just not pressing as hard. You really don't need 6 types, versions of the same yellow. So if you've done that, you can now pick up your orange or your red or your even your darker red. Now you can go very lightly, very, very lightly, not hard, very lightly over the yellow, just light. Yellow and red make orange. Sometimes it works to go around and around also. Now, if you happen to have a white pencil with you or a light colored pencil, and if not, use the yellow again. We use them for burnishing. Burnishing is just like, if you've got some copper and you're cleaning it and you burnish it so that it brings out. So this is the same thing. So you take your pencil again on its side and you go right at the end. Now you literally move them together. Look, see, you're literally blending them together. So you could also call it blending. And you go, okay, do I need a bit more red? So that's why you add your red carefully, so you don't put too much on and wipe the yellow out. So you burnish it. So this is a slow procedure. It's not fast, but that is the beauty. So I'm putting more and more so you can see it's getting more red in one corner and more yellow at the outside. Do you see that? And I can go really red right at the edge here. Burnish, burnish, burnish. Oh, you don't have to have a white. I have put some burnishing. There are some burnishing tools on some of the tables.
What do they need?
They're kind of, the burnishers on the tables look like they're kind of, yeah, they're kind of this color. They're just natural colored pencils and they're called burnishing pencils. And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you to that, but I put a few around, okay? If not, let's just work out what we've got, okay? And then those of you that have got some colored pencils, just share.
Oh, no. Here's a yellow.
That's a burnish, yeah. There's a burnishing pencil here somewhere. There.
You could,
No, but I'm just saying.
That's a vote.
It's not, no problem.
It's colorless. Or you can use a white pencil. That doesn't work so well. You can, it might be a good burnisher. Yeah, that's working. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you just need a natural color that is not going to influence overall. You all doing pretty good, and you can press pretty hard when you're burnishing. You can press pretty hard, yeah. Make sure you're using it on the side, because that's gonna make all the difference in the world. The lines are still visible. It's not. Just add a little. You just keep adding, you get better and better. So like, take your red one here. So you. And then you take some yellow, you know, you do it enough for adding, see? And then, yeah, it's just, the whole process, guys. The whole process is to keep layering one color on top of another and burnishing them. Until you have it. Until you have it, you've got to have to wait. I don't know. Say that you yeah, that's a good. I think you might need. So you guys look, I mean, I'm looking around and you guys are doing fine. So. This is one burnishing pencil. Sometimes they come with your knot, sometimes you buy them separately. You don't have to have it. Usually you would use, like if you were putting, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do some darker colors. In that case, you use a darker color to burnish. So, you know, it's just whatever you use and you just press on the side until, you know, until it's nice. Sometimes I'll use 5 or 6 colors to get the color I want. It's something for you to explore and have an adventure with. That I'm just introducing it. This is what I'd like, you know, there's what, you know, this is a furniture. But you could easily. Well, that's a burnishing. And then.
I think it helps it blend.
We don't have.
Blend.
I think.
This one here is a good color. So try this one.
What does burnishing, what does
The word
burnishing
burnish
do?
means-
Yeah, what does the burnishing do? Help it blend?
Well, yeah, so if you dropped some hot wax on a table and you wanted to mix it all the way over the table, you would take something and you do this. And then if you can mix, you can rub the burning, the wax in, and then it will start to kind of get a little bit brighter and mix it all together. So if you had 2 colors of wax and you just think of the fact you've got wax, okay? The basis, like these are wax and pigment. That's all they are. So if you put them together, it's not like using our last week we were using tortillons, where we were taking them with our pencil, with our graphite, and moving it around.
It might be the way that we use on pens a lot. It's because what they got the color. I mean, the lot that we use.
Oh, yeah.
Did you understand that? It helps it mix.
Imagine if you wouldn't want to use. a piece of
Kinda,
paper.
Because the pencils are wax.
It's a
Right,
notebook.
I can,
You
yeah. I
want
can see
something
it.
But
hard.
do you have a burnishing pen?
It's this one.
Oh, could I, oh,
Together.
That's what she said.
Okay, so it helps the wax mix.
That will not change the.
So it-
the two colors that go together. So.
And
you know,
it
if you
transforms
use
all the
white
colors
or
together
Okay.
to create a new color.
Okay.
Would
Not
I,
really.
quite
Like I did
honestly,
with mine.
I think our fingers would do the same
I
thing.
mean,
You know, yeah, you're right.
yeah, these are things like, your questions are answered while you're experimentation. Get yourself some nice colored pencils. The ones I recommend are Prismacolor. But, you know, they're a very good brand. And the reason they're good is because there's a lot, how good a pencil is depends on, the ratio of wax to pigment. So it's not a lot of pigment. The pencil will be very bright. If the cheaper ones, the Crayola, ones, there's not much pigment. And that's the expense, it's not the wax, it's the pigment. So you get something like a Prismacolor, it's a nice, it's bright color, it's just bright, and they lay down well. The other thing to know when you do buy them is I always wrap mine up in a, you know, a piece of paper towel, because they're wax, so they break really easily. So they're not like, you know, a regular pencil, you throw it on the floor, it doesn't matter. And so if you find that it just keeps breaking off, it's because, you know, you dropped it. So try not to drop them and try and keep them, so I usually try to keep them in an upright jar. And when I travel with them, I put them in a little, you know, soft roll up, so that they're not, so they're protected.
So, Caroline, is that the reason the more expensive pencils have a tendency for the tip to break off?
Yes,
I always wondered about that.
yes, exactly right. They're gonna be even more delicate because there's gonna be more. If you can think about it, there's gonna be less wax and more stuff in it.
Yeah, I was like, why are my expensive pencils breaking easier than my cheaper ones?
Because the cheaper ones got more wax, but the other ones, and it becomes a bit more crumbly because there's less wax to keep it stable. So there is another type of pencil, colored pencil, which is oil based. And that's a very, very, like the colored pencils were basically developed in the late 19th century, not until the late 19th century. And they were actually developed by Gumbacher, which is a German company, still one of the best. They make an excellent colored pencil still to this day. Prismacolor kind of taken over the market.
Here you
Either
go.
one, and I personally like Prismacolor. And, you know, I don't recommend buying the 72 pencils because I get so damn confused. Which pen, so that means it behooves you to understand a little bit about color mixing. So we're gonna learn a little bit about how to mix your colors so that, because it's all blending. So it's not like painting where you can pre-mix your color. You have to know how to mix them. So if you know how to mix your color, you don't need to buy brown because you know how to mix it. So I'm not gonna give you a whole class today of color mixing because you'd be here all day. But, you know, at least we know that if you put yellow and red together, you get a kind of an orange, depending on your red. If you've got a nice clean red, if it's a brown, if your red is a bit browny, then it won't make it a nice orange. So try and find enough bright reds around to mix with your yellows, and then you'll get something like this, which you see is kind of setting us up a little bit for our poppy. See? That's what we're going to need to do. So let's go a little bit into the greens, whatever greens you've got. You can put down some yellow again in a nice long
And this time I'm using the tip. Because I'm gonna do a stem. And then I can put any type of green over it. I'll burnish it with the yellow. What the burnishing does is it gets rid of that colored pencil look, which I hate, where it doesn't look that great. And now I'm just gonna keep putting one on top of the other. And you'll have a pretty nice, and again, this time I'm actually doing it by holding my pencil like this, because I'm gonna do a stem. Or you could just put your green down directly. And you could come over top with the yellow, because the stems and the leaves are a bit of a yellowy green. You'll observe when you look at your drawing. Now, next question is, can I erase? Not really. Not really. That's why you want to be able to go lightly. I've given you some erasers. The little triangular ones are particularly good. But you can use a good eraser, a good hard eraser. The other ones we were using last week don't work on this at all. So now you're learning a little bit, like this is where we use our hard erasers. So then we go, okay, what do we use for our initial drawing? Well, if we're doing your initial drawing, you could use a pencil lightly, but I'm not recommending it, to do a little kind of gridded outline like this, just so you know where you're going. But the way in which we're going to do our drawing is use a light pink or red, and we'll do that with the drawing just lightly. And we're going to do that in a bit to draw the outlines of our leaves. And then we'll take the green and draw the outlines of our stems. Now that way we don't have to come along and erase later on, okay? Because it's all going to merge in nicely. We can't, draw in yellow because that's not going to work. Can't see it. So we'll use these pencils, colored pencils, to do our drawing. Okay, so we'll draw with the colored pencil on the edge like this. Then we can put it on the side. And guess what? This is the joy of drawing. So no judgment. What do we do?
We leave it at the door.
That's right. That's what we do with our inner critic that goes, oh, this looks awful. You leave that at the door. You are learning. You're not expected to be perfect, okay? And we're teaching you something today, a skill that it doesn't come in a day. You'll learn it. So let's go now. How's everybody doing? Do we have any big questions? Ask them now before we get started.
Yes, if we put the yellow and then the green, then it is mixing properly, but if we put the green first, it doesn't mix the later. So should we always put the lighter one first?
No, you can do whatever works for you. Just test it out. And you know what I do? Always have a piece of test paper on the side so that, you don't know exactly how it's going to work. So test out your process on the side first and go, is this what I'm going to do? And test it out and then do it. So it's for you to discover.
The square grid you were making the squares.
You were not going to make them today, but I'm just saying you could use your pencil lightly, but we're not going to do that today. Okay, this is you don't need your pencils.
How to do that.
I'm sorry, darling, I can't hear you.
I didn't get how to do that from the square with the stem kind of thing.
Oh, I just made a comment. Last week, we used some little squares and circles to help us find our way around the drawing. If we needed to do that, we could do that very lightly with your pencil, but you'd want to erase it as fast as possible, because once you've covered that pencil with a piece of, with some colored pencil, you will not be able to erase it. So that pencil will stay there forever, because the wax will cover the pencil. So if you are using pencil in some way, you can make those lines lightly, do your drawing with your colored pencil, and then immediately erase your pencil lines. We're not going to use pencil today at all. I merely made that point so that you knew that, you could use a colored pencil. So you can all have a little practice sheet on the side. And now you're going to turn this over and find our little practice blooms, okay? So we're going to do our practice blooms first, and then we'll turn it over and we'll be able to do our final drawing. So what time are we at, Peg?
We're at 11:06, so we have an hour. We go to 12.
Good. So we can do practice blooms for the first 20 minutes. Then we'll do 30 minutes for the final.
Then we'll show and tell.
Then we'll do show and tell, okay? Everybody good to go? Okay, hold on to your seats, okay? Here we go. So now put this at the side here. And we'll just do these little guys on the side to start with. And you've got a little bit of practice paper here to practice with your pencil if you want to. So interestingly enough, the first thing we're going to do is the basis of any flower or bloom is the stem. If there wasn't a stem, there'd be no flower. So we start with our stem, because then we know where this flower is going to go. So the stem, let's just take this guy at the side here. And we just hold your pencil at the end here. So you can make a nice stem here. And you can go fairly heavy and draw a little stem. Can you see my stem here? Now, those of you who are gardeners and botanists can tell me the name of this. This is like this is like through the stem, we have the stamen. It becomes a stamen, and around the stamen is where it makes all its little bits. And shut up. And that's where the bees come, okay? To eat it all. Shut up. Okay, I'm gonna get my botany right next time, okay? I'm sorry, I failed it in school. But these little things here hold the leaves. I mean, the petals, okay? So this is the next part. Holding the petals. So this is quite easy. And then you can see a shape that is not unlike a tulip. So we'll just draw this shape lightly with our red pencil. Just draw it as a shape. And these little green things, come on, help me out, botanists.
Piole.
Oh, thank you.
A PEC,
IOLE, I believe that's it.
a petiole. It holds the petal, guys. The petal sits inside it, okay? No, it's like, it's actually controlling the petal. It moves out and in, and the petal moves with it. So it's holding the petal. That's what it's doing. So this is holding, so this is the overall shape. And then the petal itself is going to come inside it, see? So, because there's going to be 4 petals. There's 1, 2, 3, and then there's a 4th at the back. And it's holding these little petals. Yeah, I'm going to make you scientists by the time you're done. That's my plan. Are you holding up so far? So stem, petiole, petal. You didn't know you were coming for a lesson, did you? And then you can take your yellow and just go really put a lot of yellow, much yellow as possible. If you do not have a yellow pencil that you're happy with, put your hand up and the lovely Peggy will come and help you find one from a nearby table because there are some hanging around. So if everybody's got a yellow, you're good. And if you don't have a yellow and your neighbor's got one, please share. And you can see I'm just putting as much yellow as I can in there. I need a lot of yellow. You always need a lot of yellow. Anybody that's any kind of painter knows. You need yellow. You don't have yellow? No yellow? Your yellow, is that yellow? Okay, let me see. Bring it up. Oh, no, it's good. No, oh, no, it's good. Yeah, no, she's fine. No, you should stick with those pencils because if you mix another one in, it won't be good. Just use the pencils you've got. They're good. So now, as soon as you've got some yellow, you can start taking your red or your orangey red. Try not to use that browny red because it'll make everything brown. Try to use an orangey red. You may have to share, but use the orangey red or the red, but don't use the brownie red that we handed out because that's not going to be good for this purpose. That'll be good for inside, right inside. So now you can do some light lines here. Now I'm still holding my pencil like this, and I'm actually drawing little lines, which are kind of like the leaf itself. Little lines here. And I'm going to get a little bit darker, more red towards the end. And then I'm going to do something very outrageous. I'm going to put some red over top of the green. When I put red over top of the green, it takes the green and it makes it a bit more realistic. Then I'm going to use I'll use my white, and I'm just going to burnish everything together. I'm just going to burnish it. It's a good idea when you're burnishing to put some other paper underneath it to kind of soften the burn. Like if you burnish it, everybody done any burn, like have you ever taken done that thing where you put a piece of paper over a carving. And then you rub
Oh,
yeah, so that's burnishing. So put some paper underneath to pad it out. And the burnishing will be more successful than trying to burnish straight on the table, because the table, do you see the table has a texture to it. So then your burnishing will have a texture, and you don't want that. Unless you do want it. And I'm happy with that, guys.
That's good.
Does it look okay?
Yeah.
Let's go around and see how everyone's doing. One of the things I really recommend when you're doing any kind of flower drawing is, especially if you've got some actual natural, some real life flowers, even if they're made of plastic. Take one of the flowers, and I hate to say this, pull it apart. Understand it, have a look at the petal. What's the shape? Understand how the flowers is actually constructed. Get an understanding of it, like be a little bit of a scientist. Look at the back of it, look at underneath it. Really understand how many petals does it have. Flowers are like people. They have a DNA and they have a pattern, just like us. We have usually 2 arms and 2 legs. We're lucky. 2 eyes and nose. And funnily enough, the world around, funnily enough, we have the exact same proportions from here to here. Head, chest, waist, hips. Exactly the same, whether you are from Asia, whether you are from Namibia, whether you are from Germany, you have the exact same proportions. It's the legs that change. So when you have a flower, it will have the same proportions, flower to flower. So the leaves will, because that's the pattern. So if you understand the pattern of a flower, then you'll understand how to draw the flower. So drawing is a lot about observation. So when we're drawing flowers, we're really learning to observe closely. And you observe closely, you know, the wonderful paintings of Roger Keith, where she would do, if you haven't seen them, they're absolutely beautiful. And she'd take a flower and she'd just do the inside of the flower. They're beautiful. So when you're drawing a flower or any kind of plant, understand the plant. And then as soon as you understand it, it'll be easier to draw. If you look at someone like Leonardo, who I do often because he's one of my heroes, he had sketchbook after sketchbook after notebook. And he had an entire series of notebooks and just on flowers and how they were constructed. Anyway, end of that lecture. Sometimes I do go on. Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you go to some
How many want? Why?
How do we know flowers? Not so crazy flowers. I was good. I was in just he was a scientist.
No, I know.
You wanted
My friend who's on,
Send
it
it
back.
back.
How do you guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
Observation is so important. Don't punish for the greenhouse.
They understand.
Just don't punish this over here.
Oh, I burned that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I scared I'm not in the cover. I'm a great teacher. But.
These are all beautiful. Wow. See, you're all walking them all up there.
So.
Good. And so you're just.
I think she didn't get fired, but.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Every session,
It's something different.
I couldn't stand the other.
Last week was getting familiar with the shading and the different light and dark and how it can look far away or close, kind of like perspective.
Yeah.
And next week, I don't know. We have 2 more weeks.
Was supposed to be the Eagles nest this for yesterday.
On the way out.
The Eagles nest.
Oh, oh, oh.
I mean, it might be back, I don't know.
Second was Eagles nest.
I know a
Oh.
little bit now. I know, but Jackson's sorry, but. I think so. High schoolers were walking in front of me when they and they were talking about about how their courses were becoming
You're all just rocking and rolling. I'm like,
Oh.
things were
very
changing.
impressed.
Okay,
How are my new ladies doing?
I think it did.
I think the new ladies have done a lot of playing in the past.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, at least some. At least you picked up.
I'm going back to the high school years. They were fortunate enough that they got all that.
Right, yeah.
Well, you know that they stopped teaching drawing in the 60s in school. They stopped teaching it as a subject. They are starting again now. Yeah, so one of my heroes is an artist called David Hockney. Who's a British artist, one of the great living artists of our time. And he made that observation, and I have it in my book. And I quoted in my book right here. And it's the first quote in the introduction. And it says, I was aware that the teaching of drawing was being stopped about 30 years ago, which was the 60s. And I always said, the teaching of drawing is the teaching of looking.
oh,
A lot of people don't look very harsh. And the teaching of drawing is the teaching of looks. A lot of people don't
this
look
one-
very hard.
this is the second one. This is my favorite. I love this one. I love this one, but I haven't done it yet. And like, you know, you look and then you do exercises.
And also on Amazon.
I
And it
really
comes with-
like this one.
This book comes, and I know some of you have experienced this, I know that you experienced this, and can speak to this.
Book
These
2.
wonderful QR codes. Point and shoot your phone, it takes you to a video for every single exercise.
Yeah.
And I know Linda, who's a beginning drawer, was particularly happy about that, because that's Katie and I giving demos like this that you can, use, okay? And it's very easy, like the first thing you do in the book is what we call Zen table. Just relaxing. So a lot of fun. Just promoting my book
Okay, so
on Amazon.
And I think it comes pretty fast, right, Linda?
Yes.
Oh, no, you got yours from the library. Okay.
We have like 45 minutes left.
It came fun. Okay, 45 minutes. Okay, so now, one other thing before we get started, we're just gonna learn to do the leaf. So we'll take a simple leaf. And the reason I want you to do that is I want you to understand and observe the construction of the leaf. So these are the leaves. And you can see there's a central stem. So draw that in. And then a central stem. And then you could start at the top or the bottom. The stem divides up like this, 1, 2, you don't have to get it too accurate, but they're always at the same point. Some things come 1, 2, 1, 2, that's their plan. This is always from the same point, they're like little V's. And each V and each branch is a little bit bigger than the one before. And then each one of these also divides. Into a little Y at the end. Or not, like this. And so on and so forth. So they just keep sort of dividing up like this. And then you'll have the look of these leaves. That's how easy these leaves are. So just take a minute and do that so that you know how to do it. So I usually will go in lightly to start with, realizing I can't erase very easily. So if I do make a mistake that I want to correct, then, you know, the lighter the less I've got on there, the easier it's going to be. And then I come over and I come with my pencil held in right up close here. So now I can get some pressure. And in this case, just use whatever green you've got. We're not going to do burnishing. We don't need to burnish this. We could just, it's sort of self-burnishing because we're going over it again and again. So you're kind of burnishing as you go. But you will need to make sure you've got a nice tip. And you can observe here that all these poppies have 4 petals. So they have all 4 petals and you can see them in various forms kind of as they open up. This is fully open. And I don't think we need anything further before we get going, but take this home and you can do more and more poppies. So we'll turn over here. What time is it?
Half hour left.
Good. So we've got a half hour now to do our final drawing. I'm going to keep this here just so I've got something to test out things on. Peggy, can you see that well up there? To see everything like that. can move this over here a little bit there. I can see everything, right? Okay, now we're gonna get a little bit more complicated. We're gonna take our greens to begin with. So are we all ready? So get yourself set up and comfortable. Let's observe this first. This is pretty much, put your pencil here. So this is the side. This is the side of the thing. So I put my pencil over here. So it's just a little bit angled, you see? Not totally straight, just a little bit of an angle. So let's draw a line. And you can turn this around, which is easier to do a straight line. And that straight line is going to be our very first poppy. Just lightly. Then I can see another angle here. And that's this guy here. And then there's another angle coming here for this guy here. But just lightly, you can do one part of it here, pick it up like this, see? Just try and get those little angles in. And then this guy here, he kind of, so we've got our little bunch here, a little bunch of,
Move your paper up a wee bit. Good.
I think I need to put this higher. Can you find out if there's something, some kind of a thing there or box that I can put this on? Yes. I'm going up in the world. Now you can see the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that better?
Yeah.
They've just got these little angle line. You know what? If it's not perfect, you know what?
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're gonna put the little kind of petioles here that are holding these things. And we're gonna do our first, we're gonna be very brave. We're gonna go to our first guy here. Now look, one thing that you can always do is you take your drawing with your pencil, just kind of go over it for yourself, because it kind of puts it in your head, just kind of trace over. Oh, I get it. This is a really wide, a very wide angled V. Do you know? See what a wide V it is? It's not like this, and it's not like that. It's like this. So now I can do these lines, having traced them, and go, oh, I get it. Very wide. And then we're seeing this front petal is sort of like this shape here. put it in as good as you can. And then you're going to see some little red lines kind of coming out from the top here. And then these little outlines, it's what we call, you can see the outlines of the back, and just very lightly, just kind of sketch them in. And that's all we're going to do to begin with, is just sketch that little head in. You don't need to do the coloring yet. Again, for this thing, if your pencil is nice and sharp, makes it much easier. Any questions so far? I'm going to keep drawing before I come around and look at you. I'm going to have your outline drawings done first. And then we're going to color them in, okay? And I'll come around and I'll see your outlines. And then we can make any corrections if we want to. I'm sure you'll do good. So the next outline is this guy. Now, he is pretty big compared to him. He's even wider. If you take your pencil and you put it over at one side and you put your finger on it like this, take it over here and see, oh, this is about 1.5 times the size of this. So just realize it's bigger. And then this, the center of this comes pretty much at the same level as this. See, they're actually at the same level. So that's going to be the center. And then you can observe that it has 4 petals. Now, here's what makes this easier. Imagine a line going up the middle of the petal. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you could imagine a line. So I could go, oh, this petal's going in this direction. This petal's going in this direction. And this one's coming here like this. So there's sort of 4 lines. Then it's sort of easier to make the petals the same each side of the line. See? The petals will be much more even because you've got the central line. Because sometimes this one we're seeing on the side, so that doesn't always work. So sorry if I'm being too complicated for you, don't worry. But I just find it really works for me to do that. We're seeing this on its side, so it's not so easy. But all you need to do is what are you doing?
Hmm?
You doing?
Good, yeah. I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Now we're going to come down to, when you're finished with that one, I'm not expecting it to be done yet. I'm going to come down to this one. And again, this, oh, look, it's coming all the way over. And I'm seeing underneath it. Do the best you can Just sketching this little guy out. Feel like Paul Gauguin. These are such beautiful, yeah, simple things. And go around and see how they're doing in terms of how much longer.
We've got 20 minutes.
Okay, so we've got time to do this.
Anita, you got to have it.
Yeah, Anita's gonna be fast. So Anita, when you're done here, when you're done with your outline, Anita, you can sort of start taking the red and putting it into the center because it becomes like the darker in the middle, see? And you can take it from the inside and then sort of start coming out here like this with your little red lines. In this case, I'm putting red down first, so I'm confusing you all. Well, that's my job. But you can see the red is sort of like the darker color. So we are using it and it sort of like defines, does a nice job of defining the poppy. I think I've got time to get up and go around it.
I didn't go here. Which way are you going?
Oh, doesn't matter. If you've got the one thing, you want to erase it before you go forward. Yeah. That's a good eraser to use. And you need a paper, it's a good question, the paper that I like to use, and this is different. For different people, different votes. I like to use a smoother paper. Paper we've got is fairly smooth, because I can do a better job. So I don't like a really rough surface, and you don't want something porous. Porous means the paper, you know, like watercolor paper is very porous. Doesn't work so well, not so successful. So a paper that's got a little bit of a, this is my smooth paper, this is gonna be the best. Beautiful. I don't know what I'm doing. When you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing, you do a pretty good job of not knowing what you're doing. You're doing a good job of not knowing what you're doing. So go to the top of the class of not knowing what you're doing because you're doing a really good job. So then, yeah, so use an eraser. Who's got one of the, okay, can you guys share that one? So here. This is a good one for you to use. Guys are doing fabulous. Very impressed. I don't know why, here, I can just come and send you the picture. You know, with it.
I love your family.
I have so many words to do on the day of it's gonna go on forever.
Well, I'm working on it, you know, long way to go.
Stop worrying. Stop worrying. Don't worry. Don't worry. Sonali, the more you draw, the better you'll get. You're not gonna know every grandfather receiving resident. A lot of the time, is like building and testing. So it's not like they didn't have class.
Oh, okay.
You have to know the size formula or.
Yeah.
It's.
I was a little worried when they were talking about.
Or-
Thinking about bread. Did you hear about that?
That's more of a process than it's like.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
you
lot
heard
of
about
right
it.
language you have to
Yeah.
do it, and that's right.
Oh,
there's
that's it.
a lot of
Yeah.
activity.
Oh, I forgot that.
And
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
testing, so that's good for our brain.
Future from, you know.
It's very good for our brain. If
And
we
for
are
us.
values up,
Yeah.
and that's where we get to. do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the big. Yeah. It's all of a sudden, all of a sudden it's here. Not really. I wasn't able to do it, but I had done it.
We had so much fun.
62.
We are gonna do it again. I'm gonna drag and do it.
It's another song. It is.
I'm thinking for the Japanese. So that it's that's supposed to be part of it. I don't know yet. I know everybody's gonna want that. Yes. Are you proud of
Oh, yeah.
You should be proud.
I did have a feeling that was when.
Okay, we've got some guys
My yard.
a little bit
Okay.
slower than others. I'm gonna keep going, and somehow or another. It's gonna take me about a million years to download this recording. Maybe I should stop the recording at some point and then I should have put it, I should have done the recording on cloud. And then I wouldn't have had the problem because it's gonna have to transfer. Oh, well. Maybe an hour too late. I'm gonna do the best to download a recording of this. But if not, I won't. I'll let you know. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my green pencil. And if you don't get to do everything, you're gonna take this home. And I'm now going to start putting in the leaves. And you could just, this is a very simple process. They're all kind of little V's. So try and put some little leaves in here. If you're missing anything, put your hand up. Peggy will come help you while I'm doing this. And sometimes I have to admit, I don't even follow the picture. Depends how I'm feeling. Depends how I'm feeling. If by mistake you got some green going through this little guy, there are triangular erasers around, and they're really good, so they should take the most of it off. And it's always, like you learn by trial, don't you? Trial and error. Like you've got to learn that drawing is not some precise thing. Now, in the middle of this guy here, the stamen is going to show up right in here. Because it's all based around here that's holding. So that's going to be green right in the middle.
Fine. Okay, so we're getting towards the end. All right, so we're getting towards the end. And we can't, I don't think we can go too far over. Although while we're cleaning up, we don't mind if you keep working. Peggy's the boss on that. So let's just, as far as you've got, like you may have gotten one flower in, or maybe you've gotten all, let's just do the final action of covering the entire flower on the side with yellow. Just
Oh.
go over the whole thing with yellow
Like that.
on the side.
That's right.
So we just go over the whole shape with yellow that you drew out. I'm just going to put yellow over the whole shape in here. And then at least you'll have a clue of how it's going to look if some of you are very, very careful. And you know what? I am not faulting you for that. I admire it. I admire it because I'm not. I don't have enough patience. And you have to pretty frequently get some yellow in here again. Up here, I'm not going to do it quite as heavy here because there's a lot more red in this one. Actually, it's not going to be too bad. It's just an hour and a half. That's what I usually do. So this looks like, oh my gosh, brilliant yellow, looks awful. But it won't do. So now another point about learning to draw. Drawing is a process. It goes step by step. You don't get the whole thing right away. It goes in, you do it in steps. So you see, we're doing this in steps. And as we keep going, it'll get better and better. Or worse and worse. Well, sorry, just kidding. Sometimes we take it too far. You know how that feeling is? Everyone's always saying, how do I know when it's just, time to put my pencil down? You don't. You know what I do? This is my, different artists say different things. My thing is, when I don't have any more problems to solve, I put the pencil down. If I've still got problems to solve, I keep solving them. Drawing is like problem solving for me. It just keeps my brain active. Now it's up to you, like this, the way in which this is printed. It looks a little bit not bright, but in actual fact, poppies are super bright. So I'm not going to put that brownie color in because that's not what poppies look like. They're bright and they're orange, which is a mixture of yellow and red. Or if you've got a nice orange, good for you. And then I take the red and I take it out from here. Come back with my yellow. And burnish.
We don't need email addresses.
No, we don't need.
Okay.
I've got everybody's email address, so I can
Great.
And the new ladies, maybe they would like to give them to us or not, according to, if the new ladies would like to give us their email. I don't have the new ladies. If they'd like to receive the recording, if they, otherwise, but.
Oh.
Now, sometimes what I'm tending to do, I decided I want to take the edge off this color. I'm going to take a bit of green and I'm going to put it on top of the orange. So I'm mixing it together, burnishing with the green. And it's kind of creating this. Yeah, let's give them another few minutes.
Ooh, that's nice.
Is it okay? I can't tell. I'm so busy doing it.
It almost looks like butterflies.
They do, don't they? So I can now go back over my stems, make some of them more yellow, some of them more red. Just make my stems more interesting. Right at the very end. Not bad for, you guys are doing amazing considering we gave you, an hour and a half to learn all of this. I'm going to come around and see you in a minute and start sharing your stuff. Because I know you won't share it on your own. I know you won't. I'm getting wise in my old age. Notice how I often use the red on top of the green. And notice how when I do that, it kind of pulls it. You see how it pulls it all together, Peggy?
Mhm.
And I'm even going to put a bit of green inside the poppy to just give it that little bit of oomph here. See? Just a tiny bit, look.
Mhm.
And then,
Oh, you're burnishing.
burnishing.
I think I would burnish with my finger.
That's not going to be, you can. You can burnish with your finger. And I'm not saying you can't use your total on. You can. I have no idea what that
Oh,
looks
that's
like.
nice.
Does it look okay?
Yeah,
All right, good.
the
So I'm
yellow really pops.
good. So I'm going to stop my recording so it's got a chance to
Breathe.
breathe. Okay, end of the recording. Can you look in there and see if you can see it where you go? It's up here somewhere.